What's up? Coming at you here from Beijing. I'm back in my favorite area in Beijing, Chijiuba 798. Sitting here in a wonderful courtyard, having some cappuccino. Blue sky. The leaves have come out on the birch trees, feeling like spring or even early summer. See all these white things flying around in the air. Actually, kind of soothing and nice, but really annoying if you get them in your coffee or in your eyes. Anyway, I mean, this is what I've been waiting for, basically, to be able to go outside and enjoy the outdoors, because we have spent so much time indoors in the past few months. It's been really crazy. Actually, I'm supposed to wear my face mask, but because I'm having a coffee right now, it's okay not to wear it. And anyway, there's nobody else around here right now, so it's okay. In China, things are not really quite back to normal yet. I would say, like, people keep saying that, but it's still, I think the restrictions here are basically as serious as most countries in Europe still. So it's still not possible to leave Beijing. If I do, I have to spend 14 days in quarantine when I arrive, for example, in a neighboring city, and also 14 days when I come back. So a trip for a meeting in 1 hour might take 28 days of quarantine. So people are still not traveling within the country. Shops have opened up again. Restaurants are open. Many restaurants still have takeaway, but it's also okay to sit down in a few of them. So there's a sense of normalcy. And of course, the economy is opening up in general as well. So factories are open and so on. Of course, right now the problem is that the rest of the world has closed down. So there's not too much exports. And I'm working in logistics myself. So I see this very up close that the exports have gone down dramatically. I think they're down like 80–90% compared to normal. Otherwise, I think the concern right now, of course, is with overseas and what's happening there, Europe, US. Again, being Swedish, it's very interesting because I'm reading in the news how people are criticizing Sweden for having very liberal restrictions. Until recently, the number of deaths per capita were similar in Sweden as in Denmark. And in Denmark, they had very strict regulations. So we thought it was working in Sweden, but now in the past 4 or 5 days, the number of deaths in Sweden have increased a lot, mainly because the virus has gotten into some retirement homes. And of course, that's inevitable because the virus is spreading quickly in Sweden right now, and all the people working with the elderly are also very exposed to the virus, and it's very likely they will be infected. So it's impossible to really keep the virus away from the older and the sick people. But then again, what can you do? I mean, you can't really close down society for a year and a half until you have the vaccine. So all you can do is to manage the rate of infections. And that's what they're still doing in Sweden quite effectively. So the medical system is still not overwhelmed, even though you have a higher mortality level. The people who died today would have died anyway, most likely, a few months from now, even if we had more strict regulations. So countries which have strict regulations, they will probably have the same amount of deaths as they have in Sweden, but it will just take more time. It will take maybe 6–7 months instead of like 2–3 months. That's what's happening in Sweden right now. I saw a study in a German city, in one of the areas that was hit the worst in Germany, and they tested blood donors for antibodies to the virus, and they found out that roughly 15% of the people in that city had been infected by the virus, and that the actual mortality rate was closer to 0.35%, something like that. And as the virus is the same pretty much all around the world with some small variations. The mortality rate should also be the same, unless you have what you had, for example, in the north of Italy, where you had a very quick explosion of elderly patients. And those patients overwhelmed the medical systems. You had people dying that perhaps could have been saved. But that only happens if you don't have enough ICUs for all the seriously ill people. And right now, in most countries around the world, that's not happening. It was only in northern Italy. New York is okay still, even though it's also, of course, a hotbed in the US. So my guess is that if 15% have it already today, and that was, I think, last week, and if the number doubles pretty much every 5th or 6th day, then we will have 30, 40, 50% pretty soon. I mean, it might take a few more weeks. And then you will have a substantial herd immunity to the virus. And then basically you could open up the economy. And of course, you could do it step by step and see how things develop. You could take measures to isolate the elderly and the sick further. But there is really no reason to keep the whole economy closed down any longer, especially in Europe and the US. Some people keep talking about a extended lockdown, maybe for up to a year and a half, which is absolutely crazy. Some people said that we can't travel around the world again for several years. That's insane. That's like taking it way too far with absolutely no benefit. We can't keep the whole society closed down for a year and a half until we have a vaccine, if we have a vaccine by then. If we do that, we're literally back to the Stone Age in terms of economic development. We can't keep printing money to support those who are unemployed. If we do that, the whole economy, the system will basically collapse. So I definitely hope that we're seeing the end of this now in the next few weeks, and I don't see a reason why we shouldn't. So anyway, that's my thoughts here from Beijing, China. Have a nice Easter, guys. Bye-bye.